A wacky cast of characters who discover they can manifest supernatural spirit powers based in a rural town of Japan where mysterious homicides occur by a serial unaliver which our cast is trying to find and beat in a battle of wits. Well, if that isn't a perfect description of Diamond is Unbreakable. There's a crazy big overlap between these two fandoms, which I'm not surprised by. Personas are basically like stands, if you really think about it. And they do become more important to the characters' personalities, in the way they are designed and themed as the series went on throughout the years. Plus the concept of them being masked as well in Persona 1, Stone Mask. Okay, so each numbered persona weirdly has many similarities around core concepts used in their JoJo counterpart. Persona 1 has a wiser older dude, Philemon, in this instance helping you, just like Jonathan has Antonio Zeppeli. Igor takes that role from Persona 2 and onwards in the series. Snow Queen is a story about a mask that possesses people. Same thing can be said for the Stone Mask. Both are more horror-oriented than their aesthetic, something that changes for both series. Same goes for the second entry in both. Persona 2 is a direct sequel to 1 and takes place in the same universe 3 years later. Okay, Battle Tendency takes 50 years later, but you know. Recurring characters that are older as a result, like Speedwagon and Erna for Battle Tendency, and Kei, Yukino, and Maki for Persona 2. Both feature a WW2 setting and a certain failed Austrian painter. In the Battle Tendency manga, at least, and in the Japanese versions of 2 that are uncensored, occultism being a major theme, and both protagonists having a flamboyant BFF. Well, then again, you can say that for many JoJo protagonists, but not every JoBro is flamboyant. So I'm counting this one. Now, part 3 and onwards, the similarities become even greater as the theming between the two becomes so much more intertwined. Before that, I kinda have to include the fact that Araki and Kaneko Kazuma actually have interviewed together in the September magazine of Thrill back in 2001. This can only be relevant to the first 2 entries though, since Kaneko doesn't actually work on the later entries extensively, from my knowledge. Initially, they discuss what kind of storybooks their parents raised them on, and their music tastes. Apparently, Araki sometimes cried when he would listen to Western music while drawing, even if he didn't understand the lyrics of the music. One thing I could not get over in this interview was that Araki was inspired to make stands when he went to Egypt, since he thought people over there were so suspicious. He thought they were all bad guys. He just not trust people there, regardless of how nice they were to them. That is some intense paranoia. That's why part 3 takes place in Egypt. Well, that and because his editor also loved Egypt after visiting. Kaneko, weirdly enough, doesn't mention any inspiration from JoJo's, just that they thought they could turn the demons in SMT into guardian spirits and base them off their personalities. So Persona 1 and 2 officially aren't actually inspired by JoJo's. What Kaneko's direct influence actually was, while drawing his characters, was Go Nagai and a bit of Kamen Rider and just kaiju culture in general. Very unrelated, but Araki went on record that Prada and more importantly Gucci are brands that make him feel like anything but himself and don't suit him at all. That is hellishly ironic, knowing that he would collab a decade later with Gucci. He was more of a Versace and Dolce man, actually, back then. Another funny tidbit is that Trish, the fairy's namesake from Persona 1 and 2, is actually the fashion model Trish Goff, which is also the namesake of Trish from part 5. They then proceed to geek out together about models and fashion brands and just designer clothes in general. A bit of the manga they were influenced growing up, and then they quickly wrapped up the interview. This interview was more of a friendly chat between creators more than anything. Near the end of the interview, Araki did go on to mention, though, that he attended a Christian school, a Protestant one to be exact. That he doesn't believe in God, but he believes something exists. Difficult for him to pinpoint, but it also includes destiny. Probably why JoJo's ended up having fate as a thematic core. Now this theme can clearly be seen in the naming conventions used in the final part of the first timeline as well. Stone Ocean, Stone referencing the Stone Mask, Ocean being the coastal setting of the prison. Jolene's stand is called Stone Free because she's breaking free from the Stone Mask, aka the curse of the Joestars. She is in a sense breaking free from her fate of being a Joestar. In Persona, we always see our protagonists enter the development room early in the game and be foretold that their fate has been set in motion, and the only choices they can make forward is how they deal with this newfound power. Especially in Persona 3, it is made very evident that the fate of us, the protagonist, is inescapable. We have to be a Persona user, and you know what at the end. Both installments started using tarot as a core pillar of their artistic presentation and theming of fate through the concept of premonition. In JoJo's, the tarot cards are used to represent the characters, Star Platinum being named after For the star card, while the card doesn't represent the stand's capabilities, it represents JoJo, the hope and purpose in his journey through Egypt and healing, as in healing his mother from the Joestar curse. Another example is the Fool card, which represents new beginnings. In this case, the Egypt arc. The card itself doesn't actually have a place in the major arcana deck, it's uncertain. This can symbolize Iggy being brought to the team against his will, and not actually ever fitting inside the Crusaders. The Fool is also considered a wild card, which could be tied to the Fool not having a fixed form, changing depending on the situation, or because the user is an idiot, a fucking buffoon, a complete moronic simpleton. I do love the little bastard though, who doesn't? Somewhere here, I gotta do the YouTube thing and say that if you are enjoying this, a like and a sub would mean a lot to me, and more importantly, a comment would help the video so much, you have no idea. Anyway, back to the tarot cards. In Persona, tarots are used in a similar manner. All personas are tied to specific arcana. Said arcana are tied to characters and their confidence level. Their arcanas represent the characters' personalities, but also their progression and the main story of their confident narrative. Both third installment reinvented and established the tone of the series going forward. Persona 3 in this case had a huge shift in staff and had the main concept artist change from Kaneko to Shigenori Soejima. They also introduced sim elements. Obviously, we all know that Part 3 introduced stands and a completely new power system and tone for the series. Another similarity Persona and JoJo share is the referencing of Greco-Roman culture. Persona 3 actually uses Greco-Roman mythology as one of the main inspirations for the personas shown in the games. Araki might have not used Greek and Roman sculptures for reference material yet, but in Part 5 and onwards he does, as shown in page 141 in his book Manga in Theory and Praxis. Okay, so apparently Soejima has also gone on record and said that he was aware of JoJo's, but didn't draw inspiration from it directly, in an interview from Play magazine back in 2008. Now, Part 4 is where this meme even came from. The similarity of the plot line and the vibe both give, it's just so similar. It's like uncanny at this point. Now, Araki has officially stated that Part 4 was directly inspired by Twin Peaks, so as a result, Persona 4 could be inspired by it as well, but Twin Peaks doesn't have stands in it, so... Some of the things here might be reaching, but I don't care. Keicho and Saki dying of the telephone wire poles feels eerily similar. Both have very slice of life vibes. I know 3 to 5 are part life sim, but 4 just gave me a cozier atmosphere. Both the town of Inaba and Morio have a lot of personality and feel lived in. They both personify small rural towns really well. The fog rolling in gives the atmosphere of this yellow greenish sky, akin to the yellow skies of Morio. And it's not just an artistic choice, it's supposed to be off-putting because it signals something is wrong. In color psychology, frequent negative emotions tied to yellow are deceit, betrayal, and caution. All very fitting here. Marie and Raimi serve similar roles in the narrative, both female spirits that want to protect and save their town. Marie might be a golden addition, but the goddess she derives from was in the base game too. The killer is in plain sight in both stories, that is if you count the fact that the anime included Kero multiple times before his eventual appearance. I do love that about the anime adaptation. Both instances of the nephew appearing is what stirred the plot, Yu and Jotaro in this case. Both main characters had a family member in the police force. Now, Part 4 might be the one that kind of made this discussion a thing, but I feel it isn't actually the Persona game that takes the most clear inspiration. And that's 5 for me, honestly. In Persona 5, a core theme is self-actualization through being rebels. Our protagonists find each other in this guerrilla group of the Phantom Thieves and try to correct society in the way they see fit. Persona 5 is actually a core pillar of grind fiction, an anime JRPG aesthetic around finding yourself and true identity despite the social pressure of conformity. It also used to be called Animemo back in the 2000s and included stuff like TV, Jet Set, Air Gear, and other things. In Golden Wind, we see a similar thing with Giorno. He has a dream of cleaning the streets from drugs, fixing the town he loves. But instead of going the classic route, politics or policing, he becomes crime itself. One could say he becomes a thief. Seriously though, this is in a sense a type of rebelhood. Giorno is 15 at the end of the day. He's trying to fix this world in the way he sees fit, regardless if it's deemed unconventional. Both protags find a ragtag team of misfits and try to make their reform of society happen. Giorno Bruno with infiltrating the higher ranks of Passione, and Joker and the Phantom Thieves by infiltrating higher ranking people's minds. Found family is also a big trope used in both. Both protagonists lose their family setting and find themselves in a new group they solely view as a family, clearly seen by the fact that Mista does indeed stay with Giorno after he becomes the big boss man himself. Self-actualization is one of the main themes of Persona 5. While not on the forefront of Vendo Oreo, it still presents itself throughout the cast. Giorno embodies the drive to reshape his destiny through Gold Experience Requiem and by taking over Passione to protect children from drugs, fulfilling what he deems his higher purpose. The big one for me that goes unnoticed is Abbacchio that is seen throughout his death sequence. His old police partner who died because of the bribe he accepted told him, "The result is not all I desire. When you desire only the result, you start trying to take shortcuts. And when you start taking shortcuts, you start to lose sight of the truth. Eventually, you lose your motivation too." Abbacchio sadly wishes he shared his integrity, but his partner corrects him that his integrity was still intact. His will to seek the truth for justice was restored when he followed Bruno. Even in death, Abbacchio found himself. His stand was a metaphor of how obsessed he was with his past mistakes, his deep desire to uncover the truth to make past amends for his fallen partner. A similar thing can be seen with Bruno, whose spirit clings on to dear life so hard just so he can accomplish his greater goal alongside Giorno of cleaning the streets, especially after discovering the pure depravity of Diavolo, who would even kill his daughter to protect himself. Bruno finds himself through his ideals, a great partner for Giorno who goes through a similar journey alongside him. Same thing goes for Persona 5. While the main theme might not be fate, it dabbles in it in its own way. The final choice of Royal being choosing over a comfortable, predetermined future, a fate completely controlled by Maruki's ideal world, or choosing the difficult path of free will and attaining self-actualization, as scary as it might be. Which, funnily enough, is very similar to what happens in the climax of Part 6. Jolene fights against Pucci's heaven, a premeditated reality where every human subconsciously knows their own fate, because it robs people of their free will and the ability to overcome hardship. Jolene also denies the easy way out, just like the Persona 5 gang does. Guess the similarities aren't exclusive to each number entry of each series, huh? While JoJo's view of fate and destiny is more absolute and oppressive, as seen in the Rolling Stones arc, Persona 5 one's is a bit more hopeful and rebellious. Then again, Part 6 exists as a stark contrast to the oppressive nature fate holds over our protagonists. Okay, with all of the above, we can confirm that Persona 6 will take place in a prison, and we will finally have FemC. I'm kidding, please don't cancel me. Well, this was fun, but at the end of the day, I do have to admit, I don't actually think Persona ripped off JoJo's or anything like that, and I consider myself a fan of both series. I love them both very much. I do ultimately think there might be some legal mumbo-jumbo going on here with, like, the main concept artists having to give this answer out to, I don't know, maybe avoid certain lawsuits from, like, Shueisha or, like, JoJo publishers. I don't know, but I do think the inspiration is there, and some similarities are, like, uncanny. Plus, the Soejima interview was in 2008. He might have taken inspiration in Persona 5. Who knows? I think he did, but that's just me. Well, this took a lot of effort to make, so I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one.